Okay, we are picking up on question 11, but before that, we need to make some changes or some additions to our graph. So we're assuming that Exerbia experiences a substantial rise in immigration, which increases its potential workforce. Many of the new immigrants are experts in computer technology, and this enables many of Exerbia's largest firms to modernize their production processes and become more efficient. This addition to Exerbia's workforce shifts aggregate supply, aggregate demand, and potential GDP. In which direction will each of these three components of Exerbia's economy shift? Explain your answer. So I'm asking you to figure out which way they're going to shift. And down here, I'm going to tell you how far each one is going to shift. But first, we got to figure out which direction. So let's look at the first one, which is, let's see, aggregate supply. Well, aggregate supply, if we lower the cost of production, right, which it says right here, because we're going to become more efficient. We're going to have some better technology, and that's going to shift the aggregate supply. If you think about that, let's go back to our graph here. Excuse me. Not that one. That one's already got everything in there. Let's go back to the one we're doing. If we think about aggregate supply right here, if we take let's just take an output where we are right here. If we become more efficient at this level of output, that's going to lower our cost. Okay, so that's going to shift it this way. So our aggregate supply shifts to the right. Okay, now we also know there's an increase in the population because of the influx of immigration. So typically when you have an influx in population, that increases demand. Okay, so demand is going to shift to the right. Okay. And lastly, since we're actually improving technology and we're growing our workforce, that actually makes our potential GDP higher because we have more workers in the country and we have better technology. So that's going to shift our potential GDP to the right. Okay, so now we know that, hopefully. Let's jump back over here to our actual answers and make sure I got all that right here, right? And that's number 11, right? So number 11, all three shift right. And I've explained here why. So you can read that and you can make sure your answer is something like that. Now, we need to go back and shift these a certain distance, okay? So let's go back to our problem. We're going to shift aggregate supply 20, aggregate demand 20, and potential GDP 30, okay? So when we shift aggregate supply, that means at every price level we're going to be, which is right here. Okay, so we're going from, let's see, aggregate supplies here. Let's see, where are we? We're going from here to here, which means that at every price level, they're actually, that's 10 less. Where am I here? Aggregates. Oh, here we are. Wow. Shoo. Okay. 20 more. Yeah. I was like getting scared there for a minute. Like, what did I do wrong? No, I didn't do anything. So here we're here now, and we're going to be able to produce more at every price level. So this is going to go up 20 at each one. Okay. So 570, 590, 610, 630. So you're going to need to type all of these in, but I'm going to copy them because I don't want you to watch me type. So Control C, and then I'm going to go to our graph that we're working on over here. come back there and go Control V. Okay. Now we're going to look at our, did I do that right? No, I did not. Let me undo that. Do that again. Sorry about that. Let me go jump back over here to my graph, and I should copy the whole thing out. That's a mistake. See the whole thing. See? Control C. Yeah. Okay. Control C, and then come back to our graph we're working on. Control V. Okay. Pay attention. There we go. Now we're good. So we have our aggregate supply after immigration. Now we also know that our aggregate demand is going to shift right, which means we're going to demand more at every price level. So it's going to go up from here 20. So this should actually be 770 right here. Now let's make sure I'm not saying anything wrong. Yes. Okay. So this is going to go up 20 at every level from this, I guess that's aqua, or that's some kind of a blue, a green from purple. Okay, so here we are. So I'm going to Control C that, and you'll have to type those in 20 higher at every level. Okay, come back over here, put those in right there. Okay, now we need our new potential GDP, which I believe I said shifted 30, right? Yes, 30. So it's going to shift by 30. So it's going to go up right here from 720 to 750. Okay. So let's go back to our graph right here, and we can just simply type in 750, and then we can do a little trick. We can click into this box, find our little black cross, left click and hold, just like that. There it is. Now we need to put our curves in. So let's start off with, let's just work left to right. And first let's put in our potential GDP after immigration. So let's come here, select data, add potential GDP after immigration. Then click here on our grid for Series X values. Select those, down arrow. Click the grid for Series Y values, select those, down arrow, and when I'm clicking here, I'm left clicking, and then a left click again, and you can see it right there. Voila. Okay, now we're going to do our aggregate demand after immigration. I'm going to do this really quickly because you guys should have this down by now. Add, click, select, click again, select, click again, okay, there it is, right there, okay. So now we need one more, okay. So we're going to do our aggregate supply after immigration. So we're going to add, select aggregate supply, click here, select all those, click there, select our Y values right here, click the down arrow, click OK, and that should be it. But wow. So where are we? Well, we're at the sort of gold and sort of blue-green color. So we're right here, right there. So you can see our demand shifted out, right? Our supply shifted to the right, and our potential GDP shifted to the right. So what does that mean? Okay, we got a new situation here. So let's go back to our questions, and it's asking us, okay, so we want to know what the new equilibrium is, and we can see it on the table here. 730, right here, and a price level of 150. So price level didn't change because we went from here over to here. Okay, so price level stayed at 150, but our output went up, which is good. Our output went up to 730, right? right here, 7, 10, 20, 30. Yeah, 30 right there, right there. And you can see it right here in the graph. Whoops, here and here, here and here, with a price level of 150. Okay, so that means that, let's go back to our, here, right? Yeah. So how will the equilibrium after immigration alter output, the price level, and employment? Assume that prices and nominal wages are slow to adjust in the short run. Well, everything, so we've already said that price level stays the same. The output's going to increase, and we're going to have some unemployment, because we can see right here that now, since potential GDP changed, we're no longer at our potential right here, where we would be if it was, we'd be over it if it was where it was before on this green. But since it's out here on the orange, we're actually under it. Okay, so we're not operating at full potential, so we're going to have some unemployment. So let's just jump back over here to our answers and see what I've said here. So we can say that the unemployment rate is now higher than the natural rate. Now, the last question I wanted you to think about is, and let me go to the actual question so we can know what we're answering here, is, in the current situation, does an increase in unemployment have more of an impact on low-skill workers or high-skill workers? Explain your answer. Well, we don't know for sure, but we can make a pretty good guess that because the workers that came in and actually caused this change are high-skilled workers, the chances are that they actually put low-skill workers out of work as they modernized the production. It made high-skill workers more in demand and low-skill workers less in demand as the country moves to more advanced technology. And that's one of the problems that we're experiencing now here in our country. One of the ways to sort of think about that is 2009, when the overall unemployment rate in the U.S. was over 10%. For those folks who had master's degrees or higher, it was only 3%. So the higher skilled workers suffered way less than the lower skilled workers. And so the answer that I actually put in here, if you want to see it, is as Exurbia's production becomes more high-tech, low-skilled workers would be more likely to be unemployed than high-skilled workers. High-skilled workers, the highly skilled immigrant workers, would potentially displace domestic low-skilled workers. So there you have it. That is your homework for Chapter 12. Make sure you really understand well what would move these the aggregate. Let me jump back over here. The aggregate demand and aggregate supply curves, and that's really going to help you with your quiz. Okay.